engine bay, 95% finished up, mocked up. She got the firewall built. The steering is all ready to go and mounted. She actually steers and turns on her own accord. We don't have to push our backwards inside out donuts by hand anymore. We'll be moving on to our elimination of the venting up here shortly.
Here's the beginning of the dash. We've got all of the holes that we are no longer going to be using welded up, everything smoothed out how we want it. Now I'm going to start designing the lower half. We're going to add about 2.5 to 3 inches to the bottom of this dash section, blend it in so that we can add the heater vents in and use it to cover up a little more of the heater box there. Come around the lower end of the steering column, just clean that up, make it look a little bit nicer. This will line up perfectly with the corners, wrap around the edge by the door. Right side, passenger side, driver side. Plenty long enough that they'll be able to span the entire thing. So now I need to do some measurements on this, figure out where this is going to get notched out right there for the steering column, and figure that piece out. And then this piece somewhere right in here is going to have to get notched out for the glove box. So I'm going to go take a look at the glove box right now, see if I've got any modification I need to do to that, and get it up out of the way, and then figure out how I'm going to bend and manipulate this piece so it'll go on. I'm going to build this whole piece in one section, weld it on the table, clean it up, and then we'll slide it in the car and tack it on. So it looks like I just got to straighten this bottom edge on the bottom of the glove box here. You can see it's kind of curved, so we're going to take a hammer and dolly and make that go down straight, get it as best we can. Shouldn't be too hard. Well, this is the mock-up. Pieces are pretty much built, got a little bit of fitment to do, but that is the bottom side of the dash. Working on dealing with the hinge over here right now because the door doesn't like to open, and I really want that nice gap all the way around it, so I'm gonna have to play around with the piano hinge there to get it in the right spot so it will open and flop in where I want it. And then I need to cut out the holes for the vents. So I'm going to start doing some math and some measuring, get the vents laid out where I want them. I can get those cut, get this thing over here tacked into place, and then I'll start dealing with the hinge on that glove box. We have a new view of the car today. I'm tired of showing you pictures of the front end and staring at that motor, but this is the parade view. So if you were the mayor or beauty pageant winner, this is what you would see going down the road. I'm sitting up on the trunk right now. So we extended that 2.5 inches down below, added the holes for the vents, and got the door adjusted, modified so it fits in there really nice. There's a good gap around the whole thing. That dash pad on top will be red, and then the arrow running through the center, that peak there, that will be white. I'm not sure if it's going to be gloss or satin yet, with a black pinstripe around it. The rest of the dash will be painted red. And then if you look here, I've got a piece of trim that's just taped in place right now just to make sure that door will open and shut with it, which it just clears. So we're going to run a nice straight piece of trim that'll match what's going on the door panel straight across here, about 3/16 of an inch or so above where the vent trim is going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and start slapping that trim together and get that fitted. We'll show you what it looks like when she's done. This is the dash all finished up. Got all of the trim pieces in place. Everything is ready to go. So I am going to move on, now that that's handled, to the back, and I'm in the mood to deal with this little fiddly stuff. Go back here and work on getting a hinge enclosure set up for this rear taillight section back here to cover up the gas hole. Cruise over here. This is what I'm starting with. This is the original taillight, bezel, all the pieces. These are some new LED setups. They're completely sealed, so we don't have to worry about any sparks or anything back there by the gas hole and the filler neck. So I'm going to start by taking this thing apart. I've got a little chunk of piano hinge over here that we can use for the bottom hinge. And then I think I'm going to use a piece of spring steel for the clip up on top. I have to find one of those yet. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing opening.
FBI, open up!
Okay, so sometimes the good old keep it simple, stupid actually freaking works. So this wasn't nearly as bad as I had originally thought. I took a piano hinge, riveted it right to the housing there. I cut a slot below the light, drilled a couple of holes. These two bolts here actually bolt right through up underneath. I might weld the little nut under there just to make it easier to take it on and off, all of that. But yeah, pretty excited. Actually works really, really well. I'm going to put a little spring clip in the top just to hold it in place. The LED lenses will pop right in here. All the original mounting points are all still there for that. So that'll work great. And it seals up really nice along the side of the car, so you'll never even know it's there. One more check mark off the list. So as a start of getting these pedals together, I assembled the pedals, put the little adapter plate, everything on, slid them up underneath the dash, and made sure first off that they were all going to fit where I wanted them to, which was awesome. So step 2 was making this plate here to mount everything to. Got the mounting plate all drilled out. Luckily was able to use this old hole saw and a crap ton of lube. And that old thing actually cut through that 3/8 inch steel, and it's still got teeth left on it. Freaking amazing. I have to remember the company that made that thing, because I didn't think there was any way in hell we were going through this big chunk of steel with a hole saw. Thought I was going to have to break out the robot and make it, but yep, went right through. So here's the pedal. It's all mounted, ready to go. So I am going to get this thing up underneath the car, figure out what kind of brackets, what kind of modifications I have to do to it to get that thing to fit and be good and strong, because like I said, the plate is strong as hell. So as long as I get it mounted good and strong, should never have a problem with these things. All right, we got the clutch and brake pedal mounted. Look fantastic. Love the location. Everything is tucked up nicely under the dash. And then you can see the bracket that we built. It's got everything housed in it for the master cylinders, for the clutch, for the brake. And then if you look to the right, kind of behind the steering column, that is our wiper motor. So everything is nicely located, laid out. Built a little piece of angle iron there so that the back of the brake and clutch actually attach to the firewall, and we'll stiffen that up. And then that piece there that the master cylinders are mounted to is actually like 3/16 or 3/8, I think, actually 3/8 piece of plate. So you should be able to tromp on this thing pretty freaking good without anything moving. Sometimes the best metal is not always the prettiest, at least to start. But I took the gas pedal, boom, laid it over here, made a little template for my mounting bracket. The two big circles there on the right, I believe, are going to be plug welds that we're going to weld this right to the firewall. And then the three smaller holes will actually have studs welded to them that I can mount this to. I took some magnets, hung this up on the firewall, got a good location right where I need it to be. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this piece of steel up, get the arc droid out, and cut this piece out, get the studs welded on it, and go underneath the car and get that frickin' thing tacked into place. Well, we have been kicking some serious freaking ass up here on this dash. This looks freaking fantastic. I moved all of the switches down from over there above the vent down into the lower panel that I built. It actually kind of brings it all together, makes it look more like this was a stock unit. So those switches are in. The switch on the right there is for the key switch. I just didn't bother putting the tumbler and stuff in. It's kind of a pain right now. But I got that. I got the trim mocked up across there. It all looks freaking great. It's a good view of it from the back, as they say, from the parade view. So last thing I gotta do is dead center right there above the trim is the three switches for the heater, air conditioning, vents, and all of that for the vintage air. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those drilled, sorted, and smacked into the dash up there. So yeah, that's about it for the inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those switches plopped in there, and then we are going to move up here, cut the piece out, get this shaped, and weld up this hole in the cowl we built. And then we're also gonna weld up all these little holes because we don't want any water or anything getting back into this gutter like it was designed for, because we're gonna be running brake lines and all kinds of other stuff through there that will go into the inside under the dash, so we don't want any water getting up in there anymore. So we'll finish welding all of that up. Got a good start on the cowl here. The main section is tacked into place and it's going to weld up beautifully. We'll get that all welded in and flap wheeled out, smoothed out. I want to fill in this hole here for the antenna because we will not be using that. Well, that wraps up the cowl area. That is all welded, smoothed out. All the holes are filled. That is ready to go. We are, of course, still waiting for radiator headers, that kind of stuff to show up. But until then, I have some trim holes to do on the front fenders. I also want to get everything else mocked up, bolted together completely, and try to line these front fenders, doors up, get everything, all the gaps, all of that set.